You're lying next to him one night. No conversation, no drama, no electric tension, just quiet. And somewhere in that quiet, this strange thought surfaces. Is this enough? Is this what love is supposed to feel like? That question right there, that's where I want to start. Because that moment of doubt about the peace of all things, tells me something really important about how most of us have been taught to read love. We've been trained to look for intensity, the butterflies, the racing heart, the obsessive thinking. And then when someone comes along who genuinely calms all that down, we start wondering if something's wrong. Most people get this completely wrong. They mistake nervous system dysregulation for chemistry. They confuse anxiety for passion. And then when a man shows up who doesn't trigger any of that, who feels steady and safe and real, they walk away. Because it didn't feel like the movies. Because their body wasn't in chaos. So here's what I want you to actually sit with. What if the very things you've been chasing in a relationship are actually symptoms of the wrong one? What if the nervous system piece you keep dismissing is actually the signal you've been waiting for? Let me go deeper. Your body stops bracing. Most people don't realize they spend entire relationships in a kind of low-grade emergency. Waiting for the text, decoding the tone, reading the silence. Their nervous system is constantly scanning, constantly bracing for the next moment of uncertainty. And over time, that state starts to feel like love. It feels charged, consuming. But here's what I found when I actually looked at the research. Secure attachment lives in your body as calm, not chaos, not obsession, calm. When your earliest memories of love involved consistent, reliable care, your brain learned to associate both closeness and distance with safety. fMRI studies show that securely attached people can activate the prefrontal cortex, the rational thinking part of the brain, to quickly regulate the amygdala, the fear center, when conflict arises. So what does that mean for you? It means when a man is right for you, your body eventually stops performing that constant threat scan. You stop bracing. You stop interpreting every quiet moment as a warning sign. And instead of feeling boring, that stillness starts to feel like something you've never quite had before, like safety, which honestly might be unfamiliar if you've spent years confusing urgency with love. Conflict doesn't feel like a war. There's a question worth asking about any relationship. When something genuinely hard comes up between you, how does it feel? Does it feel like a battle to be won, or like a problem you're solving together? Because that difference matters more than almost anything else. And yet most people don't look for this. They look for someone who agrees with them constantly, or they mistake a relationship with no conflict for a peaceful one. But those aren't the same thing. A relationship where no one ever fights isn't necessarily well matched. It might just be one where someone is always giving in, and that silence has a cost. Here's the thing I kept coming back to. Dr. John Gottman spent over 40 years studying more than 3,000 couples and can predict divorce with 94% accuracy by watching a couple interact for just minutes. And what he found wasn't that happy couples fight less. It's that stable couples maintain roughly 5 positive interactions for every 1 negative one. That buffer is what holds everything together. Think about that. The marker isn't zero conflict. It's how you both move through it. Does he get contemptuous? Does he go completely cold? Or does something in him stay committed to you, even mid-argument? When he's meant for you, the fight doesn't unravel the connection. It deepens it. You stop performing. I don't think people talk about this one enough. In the wrong relationships, there's this constant low-level performance happening. You're presenting a version of yourself. Laughing at things you don't find funny, softening your opinions, managing how you come across so they won't leave. You know exactly what I mean. And then sometimes, not always right away, but eventually, someone comes along and you just stop. You say the strange thing. You let the silence exist. You disagree and don't immediately walk it back. And he's still there. Still interested. Still looking at you like that. Securely attached people are focused on mutuality and honesty. They love deeply, and they carry this understanding that love is safe, reliable, and mutual. When a man is right for you, you don't feel the pull to perform, not because he's indifferent, but because who you actually are is exactly what he's there for. And you notice it because it's so different from everything before. It's quieter, steadier, real. Your future starts to come into focus. This one's more subtle, but it matters. In the wrong situations, the future is always hazy. Plans stay vague. There's a sense that you're together, but not quite heading anywhere together. And if you're honest, you know that feeling, the one where you'd love to ask about 6 months from now, but something tells you not to push it. When a man is meant for you, that changes, not because everything becomes perfectly defined overnight, but because there's this alignment, a genuine convergence of where your lives are pointed. Research shows that couples aligned on relationship plans have the best outcomes, while mismatched goals create the most conflict and least satisfaction. That's not a small finding. That's basically saying shared direction is one of the strongest predictors of relationship health. And here's the nuance. Aligned doesn't mean identical. When partners share common aspirations and are genuinely moving in the same direction, those shared visions create common purpose, a strong sign of compatibility. What you feel in those relationships is a quiet forward momentum, like you're not just existing together, you're building something, and even when it's unspoken, you can feel it. A future that feels like a we and not just a hope. His consistency starts to recalibrate what you thought love was. This is the one I had to sit with the longest, because I think it's the one that changes you most profoundly, and the one you're least likely to recognize in real time. When someone is consistently available, consistently kind, consistently following through, something strange happens to people who haven't experienced that before. It feels suspicious. Some people actually worry when things are calm, like there should be something wrong. That hypervigilance is common for people with insecure attachment histories. Trauma can literally remodel the nervous system, priming it for danger even when there is none. And honestly, this is where it gets uncomfortable to look at. Because it means a lot of people, maybe you, maybe me, will receive consistent love and respond to it with doubt, with testing, with the quiet question of what's wrong with him because nothing has gone wrong yet, which is kind of heartbreaking when you think about it. But here's what modern attachment research actually shows. Attachment patterns aren't permanent. They're adaptive nervous system strategies, and the brain stays capable of change throughout life. So the discomfort you might feel around a consistently good man, that's not proof he's wrong for you. It might be proof you've never been here before, that your nervous system is just catching up to something your heart already knows. Early attachment experiences get encoded into implicit memory and shape our expectations. But those expectations can be updated, rewritten, and what rewrites them, slowly, quietly, powerfully, is exactly the kind of consistency a man who's meant for you will keep showing up with. Sustained connection isn't built through grand gestures. It's maintained through small, consistent acts of care. A quick text, an inside joke, a hand on the back. Those small things day after day. They're not nothing. They are, according to research, the actual foundation of lasting love. And here's the thing I keep coming back to. We spend so much time trying to understand what a man's behavior means. We analyze his texts, his timing, his tone. We read between the lines of every silence. And somewhere in all that analysis, we forget to ask the most important question. Not what does he mean, but how do I feel? Not in the rush of the first few weeks. Not when the chemistry is new and the uncertainty is exciting, but 6 months in, a year in, on a Tuesday afternoon when nothing's happening. There's this thing some people informally call the DMV test. If you can be stuck somewhere, tedious with a person, and still find their presence comfortable, that's a meaningful signal, Not just a romantic one, a deeper one. Neuroscience actually backs this up. When the brain forms a secure attachment, it isn't chasing a dopamine spike, it's settling into a pattern rooted in safety and mutual support. When a man is meant for you, you don't feel that constant low hum of uncertainty. You feel something quieter, steadier, something that honestly took me a long time to recognize as what love is actually supposed to feel like. Peace, not indifference, not boredom. Peace, the kind that has depth to it, the kind that asks nothing of you except to finally stop bracing. And if you found that, in the quiet, in the ordinary moments, in the way you feel just sitting next to him, don't mistake it for less than what it is. It might be the most important thing you've ever felt.